There are two dishes that have taken over the world. Completely different in modern preparation, but linked deeply in culinary history. In this episode of Food Battle, we will be exploring evolution versus adaptation, China versus Japan, Chinese noodles versus Japanese ramen. The sun rose over Macau, and it was time to begin with a dish that revolutionized Asia's cuisine. Our first location was a local Chinese wok fried noodle vendor situated by one of the oldest markets in Macau, Horta de Mitra Municipal Market. So we have just got our Cantonese wok fried soy sauce and beef noodles. The ambience, the morning bustle inside this restaurant is amazing. As soon as those doors open, locals are in here ready for this fried noodles. It is perhaps the best in Macau, and I'm very excited to give it a go now. Let's do it. Sort of reminds me of like home cooking, like barbecue cooking, that sort of heat, that heartiness that comes with that fried dish. It is delicious, so nice, and an interesting way to start the day for sure. These noodles were delicious, and the history of dishes like these run deep in China's history. The earliest found record of Chinese noodles can be found in an ancient book dating back to the Han Dynasty, between 206 BC and 220 AD. Centuries later, and these noodles have taken over the world, with influences found in dishes from almost every country, including a very deep historical connection with Japanese ramen. The Yokohama Ramen Museum states that ramen originated in China and was brought to Japan by Chinese immigrants in 1859. In fact, the first ramen shop opened in Tokyo in 1910 had 12 Cantonese cooks. But how does the Japanese adaptation compare to the original? Well, we're on our way to the deliciously authentic Japanese ramen restaurant known as Ramen Kouji to find out. Let's go give it a try. Okay, so we have our first dish here. This is the original. In Japanese culture, they have different ingredients representing different elements of the earth. And particularly in this ramen, you've got the dried fish for water, you've got the pig for land, and then you've got the chicken for the sky. So basically, in this bowl of ramen is the entire earth. So what you're meant to do to start with a ramen dish is you should take a little bit of the soup straight away, a little bit of the broth straight away to see how it tastes before it's all mixed together. And then after that, you have everything mixed together and you just go for it. And actually in Japanese culture, it's considered polite to slurp when you're eating. So the more you slurp, the more you enjoy it. So prepare for extreme slurping action. It's perfect. The noodles, they're just like soft pillows that carry the taste of the broth onto it. It's amazing how the broth can come and weave in with the noodles and just add on to amazing taste. And the texture of the noodles, so soft. Honestly, it's like pillows.
Sitting in this friendly, cozy restaurant, it is hard to believe that ramen grew to prominence in perhaps the toughest and most crime-ridden times of Japanese history. In post-war Japan, December 1945, Japan saw its worst rice harvest in 42 years, causing food shortages and spreading desperation across the country. The US, who were occupying Japan at the time, brought in cheap wheat flour to tackle the food crises. Much of this wheat was used in black market food vendors to make wheat noodles for ramen. At the time, there was a ban on outdoor food vending enforced by the Americans, so thousands of ramen vendors were arrested, and those who were not were forced to pay protection money to the Yakuza. Even through these dark times, ramen prospered and helped the Japanese people recover from the food crises. Eating this dish reminds you that even through tough times, good things can emerge.
The dipping noodles, and we were just told a bit of an interesting history lesson on how exactly this dish came about. So it was originally a staff meal in the ramen shops. So what they would do is they would use all the leftover ingredients from what was left in the ramen shop, put it all together in a sort of soup or a sauce, and to save time they would just dip the noodles in so they wouldn't have any broth. Using a broth, adding in the noodles that way would take too much time, so they just did a dipping technique to save time. But initially it was only for staff, it wasn't actually on the menu. That is until one time a customer saw the staff having this dish, they asked to try it and their mind was blown, and ever since then it's been a favorite in ramen shops around the world and especially in Ramen Kouji. So let's give it a dip. I love the noodles. I love the noodles. They're the perfect package to contain the sauce. The sauce is really nice too. It just rides along with the noodles, but that chewy noodles is such a lovely texture. This dish is delicious. Let's talk about the food. Who won? Chinese noodles, Japanese ramen. Firstly, I want to say that both of the places we went to were amazing. The morning bustle, the Chinese wok, it's super cool, it's iconic, and it's just awesome to experience. In the morning, it is better than coffee. It honestly gives you more energy. And then going to the ramen, it's just something about that dish is so elegant. There's so much history, so many different traditions behind it. It's really wonderful when a place like Ramen Kouji does it so authentically. And you can really explore Japanese culture through the dish. And I really felt like we did that today. So no matter which one was better in terms of taste, both were really awesome, and I really mean that if you're here in Macau, you gotta try both of them. Today, I think the better tasting one was the Japanese ramen from Ramen Kouji. Now, we did try 3 different dishes, and that might be swaying my opinion, but in terms of the dishes we tried, I do think that was the tastier one than the Chinese noodles. But I gotta say that they're both just awesomely delicious dishes. It's like choosing between a Lamborghini and a Ferrari. Whichever one you choose, you're gonna be driving in a badass sports car. So whichever dish you decide to eat, you're gonna be having an awesome meal, and I really mean that. But for me, Ramen Kouji just edged it out. Being in there, you really feel like you're experiencing authentic Japanese ramen, and you can learn a bit about the culture, so I really love that.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Food Battle. Let us know who you thought won in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode.